And I'd like to call up our next speaker, Christina Hills from CFA, who's going to be talking about prehistoric, medieval and post-medieval activity at West Craigs.
Hi. CFA Archaeology undertook a strip map and record at West Craigs in 2020. The site is located to the west side of Edinburgh, near the airport. 11 trenches were opened, numbering A to K. These were targeted on areas identified by guard archaeology during a metal detecting survey, a walkover survey, and trial trenching in 2019. In this talk, I will be covering the results of the metal detecting, as well as trenches C, F, H, and K, with archaeology ranging from the prehistoric to the early modern. In trench H, a channel was identified, and initially it was thought to be a paleochannel. The feature was excavated by test pitting across a grid, as seen here. The position of the channel was on a gentle slope, and the presence of deposits representative of slowly flowing water, and that supports the interpretation of the feature as a paleochannel. However, radiocarbon dating from the upper middle fill of test pit 6, that one, returned a range of 707 to 888 AD, which puts the feature in the medieval period. This unexpected date could be a result of disturbance from a later field drain, which I think you can just see there. The prehistoric features were identified in trenches F and K. In trench F, a shallow pit identified during the evaluation contained the majority of the prehistoric pottery recovered on site, with 93 sherds retained from that one singular pit. There was at least 2 vessels present, and these are illustrated here. Both rims from an early Neolithic carinated bowls. The radiocarbon dates from this feature returned a date range of 3,771 to 3,647 BC. So that's in line with the Neolithic date of the pottery. Trench K was sited to target a concentration of prehistoric features towards the northern end of the site, close to the summit of a low ridge. This area contained the majority of the prehistoric features identified on site. To the north of the prehistoric features was some evidence of 19th century mining, which we will talk about later. There was several pits and ditch features, including a 4-post structure, which is central to the image. There we go. So it's those 4 pits just there. This was covered by a stone surface located next to a possible kist, which is just this. This is the kist up here. There was several other ditches. So we've got ditch 5097 with a curved feature which seems to respect the stone surface. It's cut through a natural gully in the southwest of the area. Other features included several pits and 2 ditches, one of which also cuts the natural gully, and another that cuts into the features inside the arc of the stone surface. It's speculated that this group of features associated with the stone spread represent a robbed out Bronze Age burial cairn due to the possible kist. The gully could have been a walkway to reach the monument, or the ditch that respects the stone spread could have surrounded the entire feature. The kist, which is seen here, was unfortunately empty, and no human remains were recovered on site. However, the location of the feature is on a low ridge, which would have given it panoramic views and intervisibility with a number of nearby sites, such as Catstane and Barrow, Hully Hill tumulus and stone circle, and Eastern Norton standing stone. This implies a potential high level of significance for the feature. The underlying four-post structure possibly represents the remains of an earlier excavation platform, and these have been identified on sites such as Olcott in the Isle of Lewis. Radiocarbon dating of the four-post structure returned a Neolithic date, which would also support this theory. We found prehistoric pottery, stone tools, and lithics in the area of this cairn. An early Neolithic vessel was recovered from one of these pits here. I can't remember which one, and I didn't make a note, so I'm sorry. But we also radiocarbon dated that feature, and we got a late Iron Age date. I think this kind of just indicates that this area of site was generally in use throughout the prehistoric period. Some of the other finds from the area of the cairn include these perforated discs, which came from the stone spread of the possible cairn. As you can see, they were manufactured quite differently to each other, and the lower one is significantly larger. Oh, didn't mean to do that. The upper disc is finely shaped by pecking and grinding, and it had a biconical central perforation. It had minimal damage, and it's speculated that it was deposited within its original context of use. The lower, rougher disc was formed by rough chipping, and the central hole was formed by pecking from both sides. The edges of this lower disc have been broken, so that one may have moved more over time. These discs would have been part of larger tools, such as weights for a pump drill, and as they are different weights, they could have been used for different drill equipment. The stone bowl was also found within the stone spread of the possible cairn. There is some evidence of burning within the hollow with black and orange, possibly ferrous discoloration, which you can see in here. This could have been a lamp, a crucible, or a mortar. The fact that several items associated with craft making were found within the possible cairn stone spread may indicate that this is actually an area for crafting, although there's no evidence of burning in the area at all, so the stone bowl is likely to have been used elsewhere. All three of these objects are Iron Age in date. The lithics. Selection of lithics recovered on the site are pictured here. Unfortunately, none of them came from secure contexts, but most were found within Trench K. So we have a large flake. Is this top one here? And then an awl, which is this one, and a small knife form. The awl, the knife is of chert. All of these date between the late Mesolithic to the early Neolithic. Just nice. So, quite a swift jump in time. We're moving to the Civil War. So the next activity we could see on site was evidence of a Civil War battlefield. And a skirmish between General Leslie and Oliver Cromwell took place in the vicinity of our site in August 1650, approximately 2 miles from the excavation site. So you can see on this map, this is where it was. Now, according to the map, it was on the 27th of August. I'm not sure how much we trust that, but that's what it says. The field was said locally. It's locally known as the Flashes, which was a name given due to the flashes from the firearms used during the battle. The battle was won by Leslie's forces, and Cromwell's camp retreated to Musselburgh, where we are, and then on to England. A plane-shaped lock plate, as well as 11 lead shot, were recovered during the metal detecting on site, undertaken by Guard, and the count by bore size can be seen here. The bore sizes broadly indicate the shot as from the Civil War period. However, 2 of the lead shot are out with the normal expected range for the period. I think we can all see which ones they are. They're just there. However, there's a lack of standardization in lead shot manufacturing during the Civil War, which may account for this. Mining. So we're going to move on to the 19th century and features that were located to the southern half of the site in Trench C. And we have kind of an unusual spread of features. The main feature we can see is a cobble-lined hollow, which is this hole in the middle. That contained several other features, including this small stone building, which the arrow is pointing to there, as well as a small stone-built tank or well, and several platforms and surfaces across the hollow. Many drains run in and out of the feature, as indicated by the blue on the plan, and some of these are definitely contemporaneous with the feature, whilst others may be later in date. Outside of the hollow features, we have a stone-lined well, and which is to the southwest, and a sub-oval pit to the northeast of the main hollow feature. Of particular note is the large circular feature at the southern edge of the hollow. This feature is speculated to be a mine shaft at a diameter of 3.5 metres and a depth of over 5 metres, although we don't know its full extent as we weren't able to excavate any further. There certainly was mining and quarrying happening in the vicinity of our site. For example, Young's Paraffin Light and Mineral Company sunk 3 pits to mine for shale, which now lie underneath Edinburgh Airport. Several quarries were also indicated on older maps of the area, and as we saw in Trench K, we identified some evidence of possible 19th century bedrock quarrying, which would have likely been for gravel. The large number of drains running into or out of the sunken area could have been to supply water needed for some mining activities, such as enabling extraction of mined materials. This theory would be supported by the presence of the water storage tank and the well. Alternatively, the drains could have been used to remove water from the mine and the wider area. The area of the hollow was notably very wet during excavation, which shows how necessary draining would be. You can see that whole area on the plan is just marked as water. We did find quite a broad range of pottery from that feature. The pottery dated from the medieval to the modern period. So there was a small group of medieval pottery, mainly white gritty ware, and the majority of which came from the sub-oval feature, which is this feature up here. The post-medieval sherds were also small in number, but they were found more spread throughout the features. The majority of pottery recovered from the area was 18th and 19th century in date, and these items included plates, bowls, and chamber pots. As with the post-medieval pottery, the modern pottery can be found across the Trench C features. 15 sherds of pottery from Trench C were selected for ICP analysis to identify where the clay used to make the pottery came from. The sherds came from different vessels and covered the whole date range from medieval to modern, or 12th to 18th century. The majority of the ceramics were the same or similar in chemical composition as pottery from Edinburgh chambers and were made by raw materials collected in or nearby Edinburgh. One Scottish gritty ware sherd was most likely made from raw materials from the eastern part of Fife and had close parallels with pottery from St Andrews. And then the final 3 sherds of Scottish post-medieval reduced ware were likely made somewhere in the southern part of Fife, and they had resemblances to pottery from Perth. An anvil was recovered from the area of Trench C. The heat damage, as well as the deep pecked area indicate that it was used in a high heat environment, and it was probably a rest for crafting. The break it suffered may be because of the heavy use it was subjected to. Objects like this one have been used over a long period of time, with examples dating from the Iron Age right through to the medieval period in Scotland. It may relate to the same crafting activities as the other stone objects from Area K, or it could be to do with the later unknown mining activity in the area of Trench C from which it was recovered. 2 possible cannonballs were recovered from features associated with the possible mine. They could be with cannonballs. They're within the expected range of cannonball sizes, and as discussed earlier, there's definitely a battlefield nearby to the site. However, there is another explanation for them. They could be from a ball mill or another industrial milling operation. Although if that is the case, it's surprising that there's such different sizes, because normally they would all be the same size. And finally, thank you to all of the many, many people who worked on the project on and off site, many of who are listed here. Thank you very much.